Welcome to She's the Boss, the podcast where female wellness entrepreneurs talk ambition, money, and ownership out loud. I'm your host, Lee McSwan, a certified holistic nutritionist turned wellness business coach. This is where conversations are unfiltered, the rules of entrepreneurship get rewritten, and nothing is off limits. Money, motherhood, friendships, legacy, wealth, power, and what it really takes to build a life and business on your terms. Let's get after it. This episode is sponsored by Ignite, my immersive mastermind for female wellness entrepreneurs who are ready to stop playing small and start leading their 6, 7, and 8-figure businesses with intention. Ignite is where we shift how you think, decide, and build so that your business supports your life, not the other way around. It's linked in the show notes if you want to explore more. Okay, let's jump back into the episode. Today's guest is Laura Swanson, but most people call her Lala. She's the co-founder of NomiA, a wellness and beauty travel company creating curated international retreats for women, and the visionary behind Only, a wellness studio blending movement, meditation, and community. Laura builds with both structure and heart. She's deeply intuitive, wildly curious, and passionate about creating spaces, both physical and emotional, that foster real connection and sustainable growth. Through years of solo travel, hiking, and exploration, she's learned how to trust herself, adapt, and lead with resilience and empathy. Today, we're talking about trusting your intuition in business, turning passions into something profitable, the power of collaboration, and how intentional design can completely transform the way we connect. So without further ado, Laura, aka Lala, welcome to She's the Boss. How are you today?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm awesome. I'm so excited to dive into our conversation. But first, I have to ask you the icebreaker question that we always do at the top of the show. And that is, where is your favorite place on earth?
Okay, this is an impossible question because traveling is my favorite thing to do in the whole world. It's when I feel the most alive. But I would say if I had to pick one place, it'd probably be Nepal. I absolutely love hiking. Hiking, it just gives me so much peace, and it's where I feel the most like myself. So I would probably say somewhere in the foothills, either the Annapurna range or like the Everest range would probably be my favorite place. But a good runner-up would be the Philippines or Mexico, which is also equally as beautiful.
Amazing. And before we started recording, you were talking about Mérida in Mexico. Can you just share what you have coming up in 2026 in Mexico?
Yeah, absolutely. So we are hosting 3 different retreats in Mérida, one in February, which I'm really excited about. And then we'll be doing 2 dates to be determined, but I believe it'll be the last week of October, first week of November. So we're going to do those over Day of the Dead. And so we've partnered with one of the local clinics there to do non-invasive skincare treatments. So Botox, skin boosters, microneedling. And then it's also, there's an adventure aspect of it. So we'll be going to cenotes, we'll be checking out the Mayan ruins. There's also the wellness aspect of it. So we'll be doing sound baths, yoga, as well as temazcal and cacao ceremonies. So it'll be just a really fun retreat that's women focused. I think we all need more safe spaces as women to come together and celebrate each other. But yeah, just really excited about everything going on. And Merida's such a fun city. So I'm excited to share it with everyone.
That sounds like heaven. It sounds like a lot of my favorite things in one stop. So super exciting. We will leave all the information and ways to connect with Laura if you're interested in doing a retreat. But let's go back. Talk to me about what you were doing before you stepped into entrepreneurship and basically what got you to starting not just one, but 2 companies somewhat in tandem, if that's correct, right?
That's correct. Yeah. So before I started NomiA, I was working in technology sales. I worked at a lot of different startups in the States, and I just got really burnt out. Just completely burnt out. I was making really good money, but like my whole life was just work, and it just became overwhelming to the point where I just felt really numb. And so I ended up actually taking a sabbatical and traveling around the world for about a year, which was so much fun. So I traveled to 13 different countries. I did a lot of Southeast Asia, a little bit of Europe. When I was in Nepal, I got yoga certified. So I had my 200-hour certification, which was just so fun. And it was just fun to take a step back and just kind of like breathe for a second. I felt like everything was so fast paced in the States and it just, yeah, it just became overwhelming. So that's what I was doing before starting NomiA and Only.
What a change in direction from the tech industry to intentional slow travel. Is it fair to say slow?
Yeah, it was very slow travel. I think the longest or the shortest amount of time I stayed somewhere was 3 days, but I typically tried to stay somewhere for at least a month, which was really amazing. It was, yeah, definitely slow travel. And I feel like that's the way to travel. I know not everyone has the opportunity, but if you do have the opportunity to do it, yeah, slow travel is the best. Mm.
And how did you go from deciding that you were going to leave the corporate world behind? You were going to follow your passion essentially and do the thing that lit you up with really no track record or proof of concept, so to speak.
Yeah, so my friend Becca, who I'm starting NomiA with, she's a flight attendant. So when I was traveling around the world, we would meet in different countries and we would do all these, fun little beauty treatments. So we met up in South Korea, we met in the Philippines, just kind of all over. And then Becca kept saying, she's like, I don't, want to work for someone. Like, I want to do my own thing. And I'm like, yeah, I'm all for it. I don't know what to do. And then we kind of had this like aha moment where we just thought, if we're enjoying traveling around and going on these fun adventures and then also getting these amazing beauty treatments for a fraction of the price that it would cost in the States, like we can't be the only two people, right, who want to do this. There's probably a whole group of women who want to be doing this and they maybe just don't know how to get this started. And so, yeah, so we're just like, let's go for it, or it's a big risk, but it's also, I think the reward is going to be amazing.
And coming into partnership is a lot different than entering into solopreneurship. So, how do you carefully and strategically, maybe even intuitively, choose who you go into business with?
That's a really good question. So for both Only and NomiA, for me, I want to be with people who I think are just better people than me in general, right? Who have like more integrity, have more dignity, who are kinder, just people who I admire and want to be like. So I would say that's like the first thing. And then obviously having some kind of business plan just to make sure that we are aligned. And if things change, that's okay. But there's a lot of discussion around what that looks like and how to carry on. But I think, at least for me, I feel like when I do listen to my intuition, it's not wrong. And so I would say with Becca and then Sam and Lizzie with Only, they have a lot of qualities, yeah, that I admire and I want to be more like them. And I think they're probably honestly better people than I am. So I hope one day I grow up to be more like those three ladies.
I love that criteria for a business partner. That's so unconventional. How important is following your intuition in all your business moves, both for yourself and in a partnership with the other ladies?
Yeah, I mean, I think following your intuition is just so important because I think we have, once you start to listen, or for me at least, once I've started listening to my intuition and really start to lean into that, even if I do make a mistake, it's my mistake that I've made, right? And I can take full ownership of it. And then even if, you know, I did something wrong, there's always a chance for me to pick myself up and do better. And so I guess for me, it's just like if I'm going to make a mistake, I want it to be my mistake and I want to take full ownership of it. And I think too, like with just listening to your intuition, like it gets stronger and better over time. So I have a lot of trust in myself and just knowing that no matter what happens, it's all going to work out, even if it maybe looks a little different than I originally thought it would.
How important do you think it is to have these failures that organically happen in a business that is brand new? You're kind of writing the rules as you go. So, how does failure play into that?
Yeah, so I think failure is just really important in general because I think it builds resilience. And then I think resilience, I think, is really important. And then I also think the grit itself is really important. I think there's something that I really appreciate about working with Becca. So And I would say this to a certain extent with Lizzie and Sam too. So I'm the type of person when I have an idea, like I'm just going to go for it. I don't always think about like, I don't know, a month or two or 10 years from now, where like Becca is so calculated in every single thing that she does. So I think there's like a balance with it. And so I think with just like the failure, it's like all you can do is try and learn and like move forward. But I would say since Becca is so mindful about things, we kind of keep each other in check. Like I might push her a little bit more forward to like make decisions quicker, where she's going to like pull me back a little bit. And I would say that's very similar with Sam and Lizzie as well within Only.
I love that. I think it's always so beneficial to be working with people who not only do things differently, but see things in a different perspective. Because if you had a team of people who are just like you, that would be chaotic
Also very boring.
and so boring, right? Okay, so NomiA and Only are both experience and connection based businesses. So, what made you realize that connection itself was a smart business model for you?
Well, I think like right now, just with the way that the world is going, we have AI, which is becoming so popular, which makes a lot of sense. AI, there's a lot of really good with it, right? But I think there's a lot of human connection that just people are missing at this point, especially since COVID. I think people are having a harder time connecting with people who are like-minded. And then even with like the given like political, I don't know, environment right now, everything's so polarizing. And I think people are just missing kindness, right? And just feeling like they are a part of a community. And I think with AI and the way everything's going, it's only going to get, I don't want to say worse because I don't think that's the right word, but I think like soon to talk to a human, right, on the phone, if you're calling for like customer service, that's going to be a luxury. That's going to cost extra money. Otherwise, you're going to be dealing with AI. So it's like, how do we kind of go back to those roots and really just bring human interaction back to the people that we're working with? And so I think over or moving forward, I think that's something that's really going to be missed. And again, like will be very much a luxury, but we just want that to be we want that to be our brand, right? So I don't want someone to spend extra because they get to like talk to the owner or they get to go on a retreat and have, deep, meaningful conversations with the people that they're with. And then same with Only, because that will be more of a brick and mortar within the Twin Cities area within Minnesota. And I want people to come in and be able to like sit down and talk to, someone taking a Pilates class with them or a yoga class, or just have, good, meaningful connections and just really build a sense of community within both of those spaces.
That's so beautiful. I love what you're creating. I love what you stand for and represent and what you allow women to come in for in a time where, like you said, there's so much polarity in so many different arenas right now, I think. And the one thing that we all often have in common is just this desire for human connection and love and kindness and like that sisterhood, right? That's so important. I was speaking with my one of my one-on-one clients yesterday about what's working in 2026. And without a doubt, it is building community and creating a beautifully supportive, safe space for women. I mean, for men as well, too, but I work exclusively with women. And that's what's going to separate your business from somebody else's business. So, my question for you is, how do you create connection within a group of strangers, whether they're coming into a retreat or if they're coming into the brick and mortar? Like, how are you cultivating that and making it so that somebody walks into your home essentially and feels connected to these complete strangers?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think a really big thing is just creating spaces where people are doing activities together. So I think any kind of activity, you build up a connection with someone instantly, you build trust with that person, and then just creating spaces for people to have the freedom to express themselves authentically. And that's going to look different depending on, if we're talking about Only or if we're talking about NomiA. So like NomiA, for example, the itinerary is based off of people doing all of the activities together. There are some things that you would do solo. Obviously, you have autonomy to take timeouts if you need a timeout and just be by yourself or do self-reflection. But all of the activities are group activities, and all of those activities are meant to have people come together as a community who, are interested in the same things. So that's how we would do it with NomiA. And then for Only, I think a big thing that we're really trying to create is a space before and after different like workouts where people can connect with each other. So whether that's, having a sitting area within the locker room or having a cafe where you can come and you can sit down or you can invite your girlfriends over, or even like a book where you can look into it and see, oh, so and so is a lawyer, like I need this service or this service. So really trying to just like bring people together and hosting different events so people become familiar with each other and then they can make those connections and become friends.
That's beautiful. I remember when we were living in Costa Rica, I was going to a ceremony with two girlfriends. And so it was a cacao and psilocybin ceremony. And one of the activities that we were doing was eye gazing. So we would sit. Luckily, I felt very comfortable because I got paired up with my girlfriend. But I would say like 90% of people were paired up with a stranger. And eye gazing is extremely intimate. And I looked around the room a couple of times because I'm just such an observer of people and I find human behavior fascinating. And you could feel the awkwardness and the discomfort of these strangers looking into each other's eyes, like knees touching, like within about 12 inches, maybe 24 inches away from each other's faces. And after about the 5-minute mark, I looked back around and I felt their connection. I could visibly see it. I saw people tearing up just from having this connection with a complete stranger. They may not even said more than hello to each other. And so I think this real life human connection that we're able to cultivate with strangers is actually so underrated. And I think it actually allows sometimes for more vulnerability because it's a stranger. Have you experienced this?
Yeah, absolutely. I think you kind of hit the nail on the head. I think when you're with strangers, or in some cases when you're with strangers, you're not worried about what they're going to think of you because you don't know if you're going to see them again. Where if it's a friend, you might be like, "Oh, are they going to like this or not like this?" But the what I've realized, and especially like with travel, I think the more authentic you are, the more people are drawn to you, whether you're conventional or not. So I guess I just encourage everyone to try to be as authentic as they can and not worry about what everybody else is doing. Granted, that's easier said than done, right? But there is something really beautiful about that. And I think too with traveling, especially traveling over the last couple of years where I did a lot of solo travel, you make friends with people and you might have the best friendship with them for 2 or 3 days and then you never see them again. And it's not that you don't necessarily want them in your life because that's not it at all. It's just you're in this moment of you're experiencing something for the first time. So an example of this, there was a couple that was hiking up the ACT trail with me. And so every single day after we got done hiking, we'd sit down, chat, talk about our lives, have these like beautiful moments together. And I haven't seen them since, right? But I still think of them and I still send them like love and like joy and like happiness. And I just think back to these like moments where I had all these beautiful little connections with these people. And it's such a, I don't know, it's such a magical thing. So again, like if anyone gets the chance to do that, it's really cool. And it's also nice with the traveling, people are in the same situation you are, right? So a lot of people are traveling solo. So they're also looking for a connection, even if it is for a few days or even a few hours, whatever that looks like. And I think when we, at least this is what I feel, and especially being back in Minnesota, is people tend to get really wrapped up in just everyday life, which I mean, we have to, right? Because we have to be present in our everyday life. But sometimes I think with that, you get a little closed off to the people around you. And so what, again, with like Only, what we're really trying to create, since it'll be a brick and mortar within in Minnesota, is kind of just like breaking down some of those walls for people.
And how would you say that solo travel prepared you for entrepreneurship, starting your own business?
Yeah, I think with solo travel, you have to be pretty brave, right? Because you're walking in a lot of times to, I only speak English. I'm trying to learn Spanish. It's a slow and steady journey. But anyone who speaks two languages, I just have so much admiration for you because it's not easy. But I think with solo travel is you have to, well, one, trust yourself a lot, right? So it's like leaning into whatever your gut is telling you, whether that's you get to a hotel or a hostel and you're like, this doesn't feel right, like leave, right? Or a restaurant or whatever it is. So leaning in and really listening to whatever your intuition or your gut is saying. And then I would say the other thing is just like you don't know what tomorrow is going to bring, but there's something exciting about that. And I think that's with, starting a company, it's like I don't know exactly what the full outcome is going to look like, but it's a really like exciting thing for me. And I don't feel like there'll be any failures in the sense of, maybe I don't make like millions and millions of dollars, but what I will have learned and taking away from this and the relationships that I've built will be like priceless. And so that's really exciting. So I think with the solo travel is just yeah, listening to intuition and just kind of being brave and just going for it and not worrying about anyone else. I also think too with solo travel and just traveling in general, especially in countries where you don't speak the language, is you rely so much on the kindness of strangers and just really have to put your trust in other people. So, yes, you're listening to your intuition, you're listening to yourself, but the amount of like amazing people out there who just want to see you be successful, whether it's just like getting you from point A to point B, is just, it's amazing. And I would say that there's so much good. Yeah. So, I mean, the solo travel, I would never take that back. And I also think I've just seen also how much opportunity I have being in the States that I wouldn't have had if I was born in another country. So I think just looking at it from a different perspective, like I don't have to do this conventional way. Like even if it doesn't work out, I have an education, like, I have a lot of experience in tech sales. Like I have so many more options than so many other people will have. So I think it kind of just like opened up my eyes a little bit. That was very long-winded, so sorry.
No, don't apologize. That was awesome. And I was nodding along the whole time because I agree with you. Like that vulnerability that comes with traveling and not speaking the language or not knowing where you're going. And, we don't have the same luxury of Google Maps everywhere in the world. And so you're really forced into stepping outside of your comfort zone and putting faith and trust in other people to help you. And 90% of the time they rise to the occasion. I saw that time and time again while we were in Costa Rica living there, and just the willingness of people that I don't know if I'm just jaded by it here in North America, but I just don't see it the same way in Canada. And I don't know if that's by design, that's our fast-paced lifestyle, and we don't think we have enough time to stop and chat with somebody or to lend them some loving help and support. But going back to thinking about your life pre-entrepreneurship, could you ever imagine stepping back into corporate America now with what you've started building, what you've seen? Is that chapter just completely closed off to you, even though that opportunity could still be there?
So this is a really good question and something that I've thought about a lot. So I don't want to like ever close the door or just, close the door forever. I would rather have that be at this moment in time, like I want to move forward with what I'm doing and I don't see myself going back into corporate, but not to say that I wouldn't at some point, depending on how life like unfolds, right? So I think part of being resilient and just part of, making the right decisions is kind of sometimes leaning into whatever opportunity presents itself and like fully taking advantage of that. So I never want to pigeonhole myself into just one spot because I think that closes a lot of doors. And I think it also can create a lot of like heartache if it's not working, right? If something's not working, like, okay, that's fine. Let's figure out what is working and let's lean into that. So I would like to say that I'm more of an opportunist. So I don't foresee that at this moment in time, but who knows what's going to happen, right? Like life is funny. And I mean, I never thought I'd be trying to, or opening two companies. So I mean, you just never really know what's going to happen.
No, the universe works in strange and divine ways, that's for sure. We never know what's around the corner for us, whether good or bad. What was one of those those types of days in your business where you're like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if I'm cut out for this. Maybe I do want to go back to that consistency and that steadiness and the predictability of your tech job.
Yeah, so I mean, I would say like the thing that I miss most about the tech job is the income because I was making very, very good money. But I don't miss the mundane. I mean, I don't want to say it's mundane because I think there's a lot of different things within tech sales and there's always, different deals and there's something exciting about closing a deal or making a connection or there's so many things about it that are really amazing that I did enjoy. But right now, I think just the excitement of not necessarily knowing what tomorrow is going to look like is just so much greater. And just also just having the autonomy, right? Like I'm working a lot harder right now, and I'm again, not making as much money as I was, but just the autonomy that I can get from that and really creating the life that feels the most authentic to me is 1000% worth it. And I have the opportunity with the full-time job that I'm working now where I can work on both of these things and I have a lot of support from that company. So again, like this isn't something that I think everybody has. So I really want to be thankful for that company as well as for the opportunity I have to lean into these two different projects and really start working with them.
And did you have to like downscale your life in any way in order to leave your tech job and start your business? And if so, how did you manage that discomfort?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I worked really hard in tech sales, and so I'm pretty fortunate in terms of like the like little nest egg I was able to build for myself, which I feel really excited about. And I grew up, so I'm one of 10, so I have 9 siblings. Yeah, so I have 5 brothers and 4 sisters. And so I didn't grow up with a lot of things. Like I grew up sharing a lot. And I remember at one point during COVID, I looked at my sister Mary and I was like, I'm terrified to like be poor. Like, what if, like I lose like all the things that I've worked so hard for? And she just looked at me and she's like, you've been poor your whole life. Like, you're not like giving anything up. And so, like, thinking of that, I'm like, she's right. Like, I don't need a lot in order to be happy. And then, even solo traveling for a year, I literally had one backpack that I took around with me. Right. So, it's like all of these things that I think we're like taught to. I think everybody's different in terms of like what they want or don't want or what makes them happy. But what I've realized is I can have very little and still feel a lot of happiness. The things that I have, I want them to be very nice. Like I'm wearing a cashmere sweater, but I would rather have one really nice sweater than like 15 of them. So for me, it is a little bit harder because like one of the things I am doing right now is I'm staying with my parents. I'm looking at purchasing a house, but I am living with them right now until I'm able to purchase a house. So like going back and staying with my mom and dad is something that I never thought I would do, but also something where I have the opportunity to do it. So again, like how can I really take advantage of what I have, even if it's not like, I don't know what you would call like perfect or like ideal or whatever. So yeah, so I would say like, yes, I've like downgraded in some ways, but at the same time, I'm like the things that are important to me, I'm still able to do. So again, like travel. That's hands down the most important thing. Eating high quality food is really important. Past that, I'm not really too worried about things. And then obviously like having relationships with the people I care about. But those are probably my top priorities. Yeah.
I love this so much because I feel like I've been so blessed in starting this podcast and having conversations with women just like yourself who are very soul led, heart centric business owners. And I'm not saying this with any judgment or anything, but I think it's so refreshing for me as a mom, as a woman who has always tried to build a heart-centric business, to see that maybe there is a shift happening where we don't care as much about the Chanel bags and, like having the biggest house or the fanciest car. And instead we're making our businesses and the money that we generate from our businesses do something that is so deeply nourishing to ourselves, our community. My mission is always to pay it further forward. So expanding that to a global standpoint, I just think is so freaking amazing. And I feel like maybe it's just the echo chamber that I'm in. I'm not entirely sure, but I do see this shift happening. And even a lot of these women that I follow online who have $1 million cash months, they are still, there's one woman that's coming to mind right now. She's still driving her 2017 Jeep. Like she could go and buy any car she wants and she just doesn't care. And I'm wondering, like, are you seeing this shift as well too? How does it make you feel? Do you feel more hopeful for the globe because it feels like we're moving away from this like luxury consumerism for the sake of just having nice things? And no judgment, like don't get me wrong, I'm with you. I like the nice things, but it's not my driving force, you know? Like it's secondary. Like I will always choose a better quality option versus buying like the 10 or 15 sweaters like you said as well too. But overall I feel like the narrative is changing around what motivates women specifically in business. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would agree with you. And I think too, like, especially like being in the States, like the cost of everything is just getting to be so expensive. And I think people are kind of going back to like the roots of, yeah, wanting higher quality things, but less things. And that's, I would say the majority of my friends are that way now. Like, I think, obviously, like I want to have nice things, but I don't care if I have a lot of them. And I think that this, like I said, the things that I value is friendship and is travel. And I try to surround myself with people who have similar like values as me. But it does seem like that is like a shift that we're moving in, which is probably like a good thing, right? Because we want to make sure that we're supporting, well, especially like mom and pop shops and like smaller businesses. And so it's like if you can get a smaller, better quality item from them, like that's more important. But yeah, I would agree with you. I think that is definitely a shift that we're seeing.
Okay, and on this conversation of kind of like the shift in how we spend our money, what is, if you were to hit like your 7-figure year, what would be the first thing that you spend that kind of like bonus money or like reward kind of money? Where would you be putting that?
So I would probably honestly take a trip with my mom and all my sisters. So that's probably what I would do if I hit that. And then I would just put the money back into the company. I would want to set things up so like my nieces and nephews are like taken care of. But I mean, I don't anticipate, like I don't care about having like a big house or like fancy things. I would like to buy a mountain house at some point and maybe a house in Italy, but I mostly just want to, I don't care if it's a little shack in the mountains. I just want to be able to go hike and be outside and explore and have the freedom to do what I want. So I don't think there would be anything. I guess I would buy an experience is what I would buy. And then I would like to, my mom, I would really like to take her somewhere with me. I think that would be really special. And she, being the mother of 10, I don't think she had the opportunity to travel and spend money on herself ever. So now, like when any of us kids are traveling, she gets so excited and she'll like meet us anywhere. So she met me and my brother and my sister in Thailand at one point, and my other little brother. And then she met my other brother who was studying in Argentina. She went over there with my sister. And she just like just see her excitement in terms of like traveling and experiencing things is really cool. And it's cool that to see her like having worked her whole life, like giving up so much of herself for her family and her kids, and then now being able to, or if I could give some of that back, that would be really amazing. So I think I just spend money on experiences.
So, so beautiful. And where exactly would you take mom and sisters?
Oh, this is a good question. I probably would talk to them and see what they wanted to do and see if we could come up with a place together. There's six, there would be six of us, right? Which is hard to bring six people together into like one, I don't know, conclusion. So I don't know if we'd all pick a place and then vote and just narrow it down. I'm sure there would be a different way to kind of be diplomatic about it. But I imagine it would be somewhere. I really want to go to Cambodia, and I feel like most of them would be open to going to Cambodia. My older sister sometimes has a hard time traveling when there's a big time difference. So with that, we might end up doing more of Europe or South America, but all of us are very open to exploring all parts of the world. So I think I think everyone would just be excited to be together at the end of the day.
There's no bad destination, really and truly, especially when you're with company that means so much to you, which it clearly does. I love hearing these experiences of childhood. I am an only child. So when you said you're one of 10, I was like, oh my gosh. My husband, they're a blended family. So there's 6 kids and then a stepsister. So I felt like I got thrown into that craziness. And we actually all went down to Mexico last spring, and it was so fun. And it actually inspired all of us to make it not necessarily an annual thing, as a lot of people to coordinate with like wives and husbands and all that stuff. But travel really brings people together. Like, there's no other experience on earth, I don't think, that you could ever duplicate the memories that get made and the connections and the conversations that you get to have the way that travel does.
100%. Yeah. Travel is just, oh, it just will forever have my heart.
Yeah, I love so much that you've been able to blend what you're clearly so passionate about with a business that you, I'm sure, are going to grow to massive, massive heights. Talk to me a little bit about the beauty retreats, because this is, I guess, the way that you phrased it, it's a new term for me. But when I think about it, there's been times where I've seen like plastic surgery offices like right by airports, and then there's like a beautiful hotel, and it's like an in and out type of thing that you're not aware of until you're aware of it. So with you creating this type of experience for people, how exactly do you do this logistically, from, coordinating what services people want to ensuring that they're getting the right person administering the treatment? It's safe, they're licensed, everything like that.
Yeah, so that's something that's really important to Becca and I, just making sure like safety is the most important thing in the whole world. Like fundamentally, like everybody has a right to be safe. So that's kind of a non-negotiable for Becca and I. And so Becca and I do a ton of research before we go anywhere. And then we actually go to the clinics and meet the doctors themselves. So going to Merida, we were exploring different cities we were looking at going to in Mexico. We kind of narrowed it down to 3 or 4 different cities. And then we actually went to Merida and we met with several different clinics. And this was the clinic that resonated with us the most. We got treatments there. We absolutely love the doctors that will be in work that we'll be working with. So that was really huge. But I would say just for us, it's, one, like checking their credentials, making sure that they're certified in the things that they say they are. And then also, is this something that I would be willing to do myself? And if the answer is no, then I'm not going to send somebody else there. And so I'm happy to talk to people about the services that like all do, right? And I'll say like, oh, I've done this and I liked it, or haven't done this and I haven't liked it. I'm an open book when it comes to everything. Like I don't have any secrets. I don't think those are helpful in any sense. So that's something that, yeah, is a really big thing for Becca and I. And then like South Korea, it'll be the same thing. But there is, depending on what country you're going to do different treatments, you do have to be really careful just to make sure that people do have like the credentials that they say they're going to, and the experience as well. But yeah, just going, checking it out myself, and then getting the treatments done myself there.
And how do you balance something like having a wellness company with this kind of a la carte service where, you are doing the injectables like the Botox and the fillers and that kind of stuff? So how do you find that balance? Because that's definitely something that I think a lot of women, especially my age at 40, in the wellness space, there's some judgment, there's some shame, there's some very real fear. So how did you collaborate this
Mhm.
wellness experience with something like the injectables?
Yeah. So I think, well, one, like we all have a right, especially like as females, to just feel our best and feel beautiful. And that's going to mean something different for everybody. And so maybe that means someone gets like exomes, or maybe that means someone getting Botox. Maybe that's someone getting lip filler. Everybody has a different level of comfort that's going to resonate with them. So I think just creating a space where there isn't judgment in it, but also it's like, how do we make people feel as beautiful as possible, and explore that with them in terms of what that looks like. So with our retreats, like yes, it's beauty tourism and it's very like beauty focused. But with our retreats, you also get a free massage and free facial. And so some of the girls coming on the retreat next month, they might not do any injectables, which is fine, right? So we want to create a space where if that's something you want to do and feel comfortable with, great. And if not, no worries. But it is kind of taboo. And I think that a lot of people do it and they don't talk about it. And so I think just kind of talking about it and just bringing normalcy around it is important. And I think that it's probably more mainstream than some of us like recognize or maybe think it is. But again, just like creating that space for people to explore it.
What's the coolest and kind of unconventional treatment that you've seen that isn't available in North America?
Well, this is available in Canada. And then in the States, I don't think it's FDA approved. So I believe it's not, at least last time I looked, it wasn't FDA approved, but it's the salmon DNA injections, which are just, I love them so much. I got them in South Korea. And so like South Korea, like depending on like who you're talking to, or not even who you're talking to, but South Korea is probably 10 more years advanced than any other country, right? So they're kind of the leader when it comes to beauty, which is amazing. So when Beck and I were in South Korea, I got the salmon DNA booster and my skin just glowed, right? And it's non-invasive and it hurts, but it's not like Botox or filler where you have to worry about it, I don't know, changing your face too much, if you will. I know like some people with Botox, they're like, oh, what if you can tell I got it? Or the lip filler, like I want to look normal. And like I'm a big promoter of like, I don't know, take a picture of your baseline and don't go too far off of it. But the salmon DNA has been by far my favorite thing to do. So I'll be doing that when I go back to Mexico.
Okay, so wait, this is available in my
Mhm.
country right now?
I can send you the clinic that I went to when I was there. But yeah,
Ah,
yeah, and I think that I don't know if it's a South Korean brand. Usually, so I only use South Korean skincare. I'm very like particular about what I put on my skin at this point. And then anytime I can lean into South Korean products, I'll always go with South Korean before anything else. American products, I actually probably do like the last, which, take it for what it is. But I would say like in terms of if you're looking for product, like definitely try to go with South Korea. And then I would say probably Japan, Germany, and then French products.
okay, that's good to know.
That's at least how I do it. If anyone has other feedback or, does more research than me, please let me know. But yeah, it's available in Canada. I don't think it's a South Korean brand. It might be a German brand or maybe some Scandinavian one. I'm trying to remember which brand it was. But again, the doctor that I went to there, she was great. She's super nice. And I love the way my skin was looking. So
That's fantastic. I feel like I've heard this through social media. Is it the salmon sperm DNA?
yeah, that's correct. So it's the
It
same.
is.
And then they create, well, depending on how you do it. So there's a few different boosters you can do, but what they'll do is they inject it pretty far into your skin. So usually they'll do a numbing agent on the top of your skin. And then you have these little bumps, like anywhere between, I don't know, probably 50 to 100 little bumps, and then your skin slowly absorbs it. But the nice thing about it, what happens is because it creates tears in your skin underneath, like your first couple layers of skin. And then with those tears, your body has to reproduce collagen in order to heal it. So it has like kind of a double effect. And then the salmon DNA is really close to human DNA. So again, like it takes a few days for your skin to kind of like fully heal and start glowing. But yeah, the results are incredible. And then with it too, the collagen it produces, I believe, is the collagen that you lose within a year. So especially for, women your age and my age, I'm 37. It's important that well, for me, it's not important for everybody, but for me, it is important that I do everything I can to kind of rebuild that collagen because after the age of 25, our collagen starts to decline rapidly as females. And that's why women age quicker than men because their collagen levels stay up. So, pros and cons to both things, but it's something to take into consideration.
Well, I know the listeners can't see, but you do have very beautiful skin. It looks amazing.
Very
So
cool. Thank
you're
you.
doing something right. Okay, I have one more question before we sign off. Actually, two questions. The first is, where do you see NomiA or only in the next 5, 10 years? Like, what's the vision? What are you guys running for?
Yeah. So I'm going to start with NomiA and then I'll move over into Only because they're two very separate. And I know I talked a little bit more about NomiA, but so with NomiA, what I would like to happen I'll go within 2026. I want to obviously have our 3 retreats, learn everything I can in order to make these retreats even better for the people that are going to be participating in them, and then just continuing to grow them. And then eventually with NomiA, I would really like to do curated trips. So have trips for people who want to have a birthday party, or if they're having a bachelorette party, or if they're like, hey, like it's just hard to be a girl in this world. Like, let's go celebrate, just like sisterhood. Like, I would love to work with just groups of women who, yeah, just want a curated experience. So that's kind of my vision with that. And then with NoMia, probably running anywhere between 3 to 12 retreats a year is my main goal with NoMia. And with that, it'd be really nice if I could, because it is like mobile, so I could be in any part of the world doing it essentially. So my goal would be probably teaching yoga like 3 months somewhere, doing NoMia stuff, meeting all these amazing women across the world and then coming together. So that's my goal with NoMia. And then with Only right now, we're doing a lot of mobile events to kind of just like promote the brand. And then with the brick and mortar, since it is 100% self like funded, it's going to take a while to like raise funding to actually get our brick and mortar. But my goal is for Only to have, again, like a brick and mortar where women come in and there is a sense of community there. So a lot of the workout classes that I go to here, and I teach yoga here as well, everybody's so in and out, right? You come in, you do your class, and then you leave. And sometimes you don't even know the names of the people that you're with. And so I really want to create a space where you can come in and you can spend half the day there if you want to. So one of the things that we want to do with Only is kind of open up somewhat of a bathhouse. And so again, like traveling in Europe, it's really common to go to a gym or go into a bathhouse where you have a few different saunas and you have a steam room and you have this like whole like environment where you can really spend half the day. And so that's really the goal with Only. So to have that workout wellness aspect of it, but then also like the bathhouse aspect of it, and then really just kind of like a community room where we can come together. So I hope that my hope for Only is, you're like, I'm going to go take this class, but you can spend half the day there, whether you're spending it with old friends or you're meeting new friends with it. Or if you're like, I'm going to take a work call here, I'm going to do a little work. So it really kind of becomes like your second home is my vision for Only. So building that up over the next couple of years, getting funding for it so we can actually have our brick and mortar. And then from there, I would like to just like host different events that I can come in and out of, right? So I'll be very present, but if I want to go to Thailand and spend 3 months in Thailand, I can do that. So I'm a very transient person. I have a hard time sitting still. I don't know if you've picked that up, but yeah, just creating a second home for people.
Okay, I love your vision. You are such a visionary and you really embody the entrepreneur who's building not just a heart-centered business, like we said earlier, but also a business that fuels your soul. So I just want to like hats off to you. I've loved this conversation so much. My final question to you is for somebody that's wanting to start a retreat-based business or maybe even plan their first retreat for their existing clientele, what advice would you give them?
Well, I would say just go for it, right? Like, just even if you plan out the whole retreat and get it set up and say like no one signs up for it, that's okay. You can push it out, right? The nice thing about retreats is there isn't very much overhead. So you have a lot of room to kind of like play with it and make it your own. And even if you know a few people who want to come, give it to them at cost, right? Because then you can start building up the brand awareness and you can really start creating excitement around it. So don't be afraid to, get your friends and family to go or, do like I don't know, founders membership. So you can kind of play with it and I think get creative. But I think more than anything, just go for it. Like, yeah, you never know what's going to happen, and chances are you're going to be really, really successful. So just go, just have fun.
It's basically my life motto is like just wing it and like whatever is going to happen is going to happen and you're safe. Everything is it's not that big of a deal, right? I always think when I'm speaking to young entrepreneurs and they're like, I don't know if I should, I'm like, just go for it. You can go back to doing what you were doing. It's always an option. And yes, that does come with a level of privilege and everything like that. But it is it when you look at it that way, it just becomes simple, right? Just start the business, book the retreat. Don't worry about the logistics. Don't get caught up in your head and just lead from a place of a servient heart. And I think that's one of the big pillars of success for female entrepreneurs is just lead with your heart.
I agree. And I always think to myself, if I was on my deathbed, would I regret not trying this? Because at
Oh,
least,
that's such a good point.
yeah, at least if I try, I can be like, well, I tried and it didn't work. And I'll never look back and be like, I wish I would have just tried, because
Yeah.
it's like, just try, So I make a lot of decisions that way. Like, am I going to regret this like later in life? And if the answer is yes, then we'll go ahead and do it. And if the answer is like, oh, I probably won't care, then don't worry about it.
Such sage advice. I love it. Thank you so much for being here. Let everyone know where they can find you, where they can learn more about your two businesses or book a retreat. Tell people how to connect with you.
Yeah, absolutely. So NomiA is nomiaescapes.com. You can also find us on social media, which is NomiA Escapes on Instagram. So feel free to reach out to us that way. And that's Becca and I. And then only is onlywellness.com. We also have an Instagram handle as well, which I believe is only wellness. So yeah, come find us, ask any questions. We're excited to work with you guys and hear from you.
I can't wait to follow along. I am super interested in South Korea 2027, so we will chat more off camera about that. But Laura, thank you so much for your time today. This was a beautiful conversation.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much for spending a part of your day with me. I want to remind you to take a moment and notice what this conversation has stirred up inside of you. You get to decide what you want to do with that. I'll see you in the next episode. Until then, continue to build boldly and own it fully.